Hey guys, Chala from Crafting Through the Chaos of Life. Thanks for joining me for another video. Today we are going to be making a traveler's notebook just like this one here. And I thought I would just kind of turn the camera on and show you the process. So this traveler's notebook measures 8.5 by 4.5. So you're really going to want to have some good 12 by 12 papers on hand. And for the cover, you want some of that scrapbook paper that's a little bit on the thicker side to form your cover. So I have picked out some papers here that I like for my cover. I really like that this has some gold kind of detailing to it. It makes it look pretty. So I thought I'd use this as my cover. So let's go ahead and cut this little branding strip off. And then we can get started. Now, I'm going to save this and I'll put it in my little container for my little strips, and then we can do something with those at a later date. Now, in this particular journal, what I did for the cover, if I can open it up here, is I actually kept my papers at the 12 size, the 12-inch size, and I'm going to cut it at I'm going to cut it at 8.5 inches by 9 if I don't want any pockets. But I do want pockets on the inside front cover like this one, so I'm going to leave it 12 by 9. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside. So we've got our 12, and now we need to cut it at 9. And this is a really good Fiskars trimmer. It has that wire guide so that it shows you exactly where you're cutting, and I really like that in a trimmer. So we're going to go ahead, and there's not going to be a lot of waste at all with this. Okay, and then cut that off, and then we can save this for extra pockets on the inside if we want. I'll just set that aside. Okay, so with that, now what we want to do is I want to grab my scoreboard. And I want to cut this, or sorry, score this at 8.5. Okay? And that is going to make our pocket. Go ahead and fold that over, and I'm just going to burnish it down with my score tool here. Okay, and then actually, sorry, I do want to score it again at 4.5. Okay, and then we'll fold that over, and then that makes the cover for our journal. Now at this point, if you want to sew, then you're going to go ahead and sew the cover of your journal. And I'll just show you that. So on this one here, I went ahead and I sewed all around. And I sewed it so that my stitching that would normally be on the outside was on the inside. Not a big deal. I'll switch it around for this one, so I'll sew it so that these zigzag lines are actually on the top, and then these fancy little swirl ones are on the inside. It doesn't matter how you do it. Whatever you like, whatever look you like is just fine. So we'll go ahead and set that one aside. So now what I'm going to do is, again, you can either glue these or you can sew them. I'm going to sew mine, so I'm going to be right back in just one tick with this all sewn up. Okay, so I'm back and I have it all sewn up. A little trick for sewing is start on your bottom right hand corner where it's going to be the back of your journal. Just in case you have any issues with your sewing, it'll be on the bottom back and it won't be as noticeable, so that your front stays nice. Okay, so there's that. The next piece I want to get ready is actually what is going to be the center of our signature. And so in this particular journal, it's this piece here. Now, This one I can definitely do exact same thing as we did for the front, where this is going to stay at 12.5, and then we're going to cut this at 9 this way. However, I'm going to cut it just the regular page way, and then whatever is left over I'm going to put on top as a pocket, and I'm going to just glue it in, I think. I just want another extra set of pockets on the inside for here. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's set this aside. Again, I'm cutting the branding strip off. Set that aside and save it for another day. Then we want it to be 8.5. Measure that. So we're going to cut our 8.5. I'm going to save this for our pocket. 8.5 by 9. Okay, then we've got some leftover pieces here. And then actually I'm going to cut, let's see, could we use this? I think we can use this for our pockets. So I'm going to leave this smaller piece as our pocket piece, I think. Just figure out how we want this. Okay. So on this one, I'm going to score it at the 4.5 mark again. But this time I'm going to turn my paper over. 4.5. Did I cut? Oh, I cut this 8.5 by, there we go, 9. Okay, so 4.5. Okay. And I want it this way. So we'll just fold that in half. Okay, and now that middle piece is all ready for our booklet. We're almost there. Okay, and what we might have to do is we might actually have to trim 1/8 of an inch off, which I'm going to do because by the time we build in the signatures here into our cover, they're going to start sticking out a little bit, which isn't too bad, but to avoid that, just go ahead and cut 1/8 of an inch off. So we're at 4.5, and then we'll just trim 1/8 of an inch. And that'll stop it from sticking out hopefully too far in our booklet. See, now that when we close the booklet, it's not sticking out. Okay. Now, the next thing we want to do is get our pages ready. So I do have some more large 12 by 12 pieces here. This one's a little larger than 12 by 12. The one's a little smaller. So let's go ahead and cut these down. They're going to be 8.5. So 8.5 this way. Hopefully you can see. Again, I can save this for pockets and embellishments. 8.5 by 9. Okay. Got some extra pieces here. So there's one page, and then I'm going to do 8.5 again. Okay, more little pieces left over. 8.5 by 9. So there's another page ready. These we don't have to cut down at all. They will fit nicely folded in. I can trim off a little if I need to later, so I'm just going to set that aside. And then this is going to be, I think, I'll cut these pages all at the same time. So I have 2 yellow and 2 pink. I think I can cut these at the same time. So they're going to be, this should be 8.5, which is great, that's our height, and we want it by 9. just some little extra pieces left over. These make little great notepads, so I'm going to put that aside. Again, I've got some graph paper here. I'm going to do the same thing. So we have 8.5 by 9. Double check that this is 8.5. Yeah. And cut it off there. And you know what I might do is this one I might actually do it a little bit shorter. I want to cut these holes off. I don't want these holes. So I'm going to cut it off right about here. I'll just recycle those little bits. And our coffee dyed paper, 8.5 by 9. So we just have to trim it. And I've got 2 pieces here that are kind of warped a bit, so 8.5 by. And actually, we do want to cut a little less off, that 1/4 inch. So let's try that. Bring back my scoreboard. And we'll find our 9 inches. And this one I did a little shorter than 9. So then we'll just fold these in half. I just like to use my scoreboard when I'm folding things in half. It just kind of helps me to get them as straight as I can anyways. So okay, I'm not exactly sure what happened, but somehow along the line I got stopped. So I'm not sure where I left off, but let's take a look. So we've got our cover. I've cut my pages down to be 8.5 by 9 inches, and actually you can go 1/4 inch less on that 9-inch length, and that's so that when you stack your papers together they don't stick out past the cover. So let's see, we've made our cover. I've got our centerpiece here for our center of our notebook where the signature gets sewn in, and then we have our pages. So let's go ahead and put our pages together. So I've got, this will be our center, so I've got a pink piece here, a coffee dyed piece of paper, a graph piece of paper, yellow, some of this ledger paper, and then I'm just going to stack in some more papers here. So if you didn't hear me before, I hope you're all having a good day and that you find yourself being able to craft along with me. It's been some interesting weather lately here. We got more snow, which is, I guess, good. Get that moisture. Okay, how do I want this? This one here, then this one. Then we'll do this one again. I'm just trying to mix it up so it's not exactly all the same. Maybe I want this over here like this. And the yellow one. It's just stacking them however you like. Not rocket science really. Okay, and then that gives us here for the middle. So let's take a look at that. So there's about 15 pages, and as you can see, it does stick out a bit. So if that bothers you, just go ahead and trim 1/8 inch off your papers. I don't mind that. I think that's fine. It's not going to bother me. And I may actually round the corners off when I'm done here, but as you can see, that does kind of stick out, so you gotta push it back in there and then we're going to have a little bit hanging off, so not a big deal. So really now all we have to do is go ahead and sew in our signature. And what I'm going to do for this piece here, I think I am going to, let's figure out how I want it. I think I like it like this. So I'll go ahead and let's see, how big is this? It's 8.5, so let's score it at 4 1/4, and that should give us the center. I should have turned it over to score it, but that's okay. There we go, and then that will tuck down in here, and I'm just going to go ahead and glue the edges. And for that, I'm going to use my art glitter glue, if I can find it. Sorry, I'm moving everything around on you. Hopefully I'm not making you sick. So I'm just going to hit the edges. This is a real fun and quick way to get a journal done for a gift. If you can't, you know, do one of the bigger journals, a travel journal is a really great gift to give. And it's, you know, they come together fairly quickly. So I'm just coming up for about 1/4 inch from the bottom. And then that gives us some room around the edges as well. And what I should have done beforehand is put in my little notches as well. But I can do that now. I do want thumb hole notches in this. So let's see. I haven't sewn it in, so thankfully I can re-glue it if I need to here. One, and there's a second. So I'm just going to go back and give it a little bit more glue since I pulled it up. And that should seal down nicely. Again on the other side, just because I got to make my notches. There we go, and I suppose I should have inked those up as well before I glued them down, but that's okay. Like I said, I'll just come in, a little bit of inking, and actually I can grab a piece of paper here, tuck this in, and that'll allow me to give it a little bit of ink without inking where I don't want it to go. Okay, there we go. We've got those inked up. Move my papers aside. And then the next thing to do is just to go ahead and sew it in. So I'm just going to pause you for a minute while I get all my sewing stuff, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we are back. I have clipped together my pages, and how I do that is I just use these alligator clips. I start clipping at the top, and then I go to the opposite corner on the bottom, and then I do the same thing again and clip them together. I have my waxed thread here, and I'm just going to do 3 times the length of this journal. So there's 1, 2, 3. Grab our scissors and cut that off. And we're just going to simply do a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. Now I do recommend that if you are new to journals, these travel notebooks are the best way to start making journals, quite honestly. They're just small enough to kind of get you used to making different layouts on pages. They're just not so overwhelming as a full journal to begin with. So yeah, I just kind of recommend, if you're starting out, give the traveler's notebook a try first, and then build up to making full journals from there. So I'm just putting in 3 holes. I'm kind of finding about where the middle would be and poking a hole through there. So I'm poking a hole through all my pages and my cover, and I'm going to go about 1 inch in from the top, or what I think is 1 inch. I'm not really good at measurements. And then the same thing on the bottom, about 1 inch from the bottom, thereabouts, and push it through. Okay, I'm sure you guys have all seen a 3-hole pamphlet stitch before. If you have not, stick around. Here we go. So I'm going to go in the middle, from the middle of the spine to the outside of the book. Okay. Pull it up through, leaving enough of a tail so that we can tie this journal. Okay, so I leave it so that's hanging out the bottom of the edge just about a couple inches. Okay. Then I move my way up to the top and go in from the back into the middle. Okay. Then from there I'm going to pull this string hard to the left, not too hard that you're going to rip your pages, but what you want to do is you want to get this needle back down through the hole without splitting any of the pieces of thread on here. Okay. And just pulling it to the left holds it out of the way. All right. So now we've got that done. Now we are back on the outside, and I like to give a little tug again on this just to tighten everything up. Now we're going to go back in from the back into the front, or into the middle. Sorry, if that makes sense. And we can get it to go in the right hole. There we go. Now we are going to go up and underneath that string, and then we're going to pull this one to the right hand side, just so that they're on opposite sides of each other. That'll help us again get a nice, really good secure knot going on. Tie it once going one way, and tie it going the other way. Now, if you want a bow, you should have lots of string left to be able to do a bow, or you can just simply do what I do, and I'm just on my traveler's notebooks. I don't like them too bulky, so I'm just gonna trim them off nice and close. And I'm just trying to find some good scissors here. I don't know where my other ones are, but there we go. Just like that, and we have sewn in our signatures, and you have bound your first journal if this is your first one. It's all done, and now all that we have left is the decorating of it. So there's about, including the cover and the middle pages, there's about 14 pages in here, which is a good size. About 15 is good for signatures. You don't want them too bulky. And then from here we can decide if we want to put eyelets on and use some seam binding to tie them together. And then, yeah, it's just all about going through and decorating. And I may put a thumb hole notch here. I'm not too sure yet. May add that. But look at that. We've got our pages bound in, and we can add some flip outs, some corner tucks. Yeah, there's lots that we can do with these little journals. Again, it looks like I'll just add some more. I'm going to add some art glitter glue just to make sure it's not going to go anywhere. I'll definitely secure that down. Sometimes you need the art glitter glue. Okay, so yeah, that is as simple as it gets for these traveler's journals. I hope that you enjoyed today's video and that it encourages you to give these a try, especially if you've been a little hesitant on starting your first journal. This is a really, really great place to start. So thanks so much again, guys, and P.S. I love you. Hey guys, if you'd like to participate in my snail mail swap where we exchange fun craft supplies with each other, go ahead, take my address down and send me a note. I can't wait to see what you send me, and I can't wait to send you a package in return. Thanks so much, guys, and P.S. I love you.